comparison between these two bikes. Right here we have a Kymco. It's a 2014 model Kymco Racing King 180, and this one has ABS. This one right here is a PGO Tigra 150, and these are important bikes because they're in this sweet spot between your little 125s and your normal bikes and your bigger maxi scooters. They have a little bit more power than the small bikes, but they're not as big and unwieldy as the bigger ones. To me, this is the most useful class of bike for Taiwan and what you use it for. So first of all, I want to talk about the engine. The engine, over here, as I said, we have a 180, and over here we have a 150. They're both water cooled, so they make more power than your air cooled bikes. Now, you would think that this one would be more powerful, but they make different power in different ways. So this engine feels more torquey, it wants to be lugged down a little bit more, where this engine is more of a racer kind of engine. It wants to rev up a lot, and the CVT makes a big difference in these bikes. So the CVT on this bike allows the engine to rev up to 6,000 to 8,000 RPMs, and I will confess that the owner before me installed lighter weights on the variator, so it probably makes a small difference. But this bike has a racy character. The engine revs up a lot, and it pulls harder from 0 to 60 kilometers an hour. It just leaves the Kymco 4 dead at those speeds. Now, I believe that mainly comes down to the CVT. The CVT keeps the RPMs down on the Kymco, around 3,000 to 4,000, up to 5,000 RPMs, and then it builds gradually. Above 70 is when this bike really comes into its own, and it leaves this bike for dead. So if you're doing a lot of cruising, this bike is much better. It's going to get better gas mileage, I would assume. I haven't actually counted, I haven't kept track of it, but the RPMs stay much lower. If you like cruising around and higher speed stuff, then this is your go. For the city, this will leave it for dead every single time. Top speed, this one kills it every single time. It cruises at 110, indicated 110 just effortlessly, and then it'll do 120, 125, but it's really starting to scream the engine, and I don't really do that. This bike will cruise at 95, 100 comfortably. 110 is really starting to scream, and it'll do 112, 115 indicated on the speedo, but it's not comfortable. I mean, you really feel like you're working that engine hard, and I don't like to do that. So, but you know, you're talking about 10, 15 kilometers an hour. Now, the next thing is the suspension. So if you look at the front of the suspension, you can tell that this one has upside down forks, this one has conventional forks. And in the back, you'll see that this one has just regular twin shocks, and this one has reservoirs with infinite preload adjustment. The rear shocks on this are better, and I think I can feel it, honestly. I like having the infinite adjustment. There's more adjustment in the suspension, whereas this one has your conventional click, 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 click kind of scenario. Now, the upside down forks, it's hard to say. This suspension feels great, that suspension feels great. Maybe at higher speeds, this is more stable. I mean, definitely this bike is more stable, but we'll come to, you know, why that is. I'm not sure that it comes down to the upside down forks, to be completely honest with you. So the suspension on both of these is good. Not really flat. big difference in these two bikes is the size and ergonomics. So the Kymco is taller, you have more leg room, and it's a bigger bike. The back of the bike is wider. You can just feel that it's a physically larger bike. And there are pros and cons to that. For me, for my body size, if I'm riding around the city, zipping around, I prefer the smaller bike. It's physically smaller between your legs. It's easier to throw around. It's easier to park. It's narrower when I'm going through cars. It's much narrower, and I feel much more confident zipping through traffic on the smaller bike. That being said, if I'm taking my family, I like to take my wife and 2 girls, so there's 4 of us. I choose this one every single time. When you load it up, this one does better because it's heavier, it's more stable. This one excels in your higher speed, sweepers. It's amazing how stable this bike is, at 70, 80, 90 kilometers an hour on your sweepers and stuff. Whereas this one excels in your little zippy, flick it back and forth kind of stuff. So it depends on what you are interested in, which one you like better. If you're a taller individual, as I said, the seat height on the Kymco is higher, and you'll probably appreciate that extra legroom. Now, that doesn't necessarily translate in legroom to the bars and to the, I don't know what you call it, the tower in the front. I feel like this tower kind of slopes back a little more, whereas this is a little bit more upright. And so, while I'm not a taller person, but I don't feel like this one has more space between your knees and the front of the bike. Now, everyday usefulness. Again, that comes down to you. This bike has a bigger underseat storage. As I said, when I'm bringing my family, I'm going to choose this every time. It's got more space in it. But the underseat storage is great on this too. They both have pass-throughs for your feet. And that's a big thing if you want to go shopping, you want to run around, do errands. You can put your groceries right there. And if you get any above these bikes, even a lot of the 200s and 250s, they're going to have a beam that runs through that no doubt makes them more stable, less flex in the chassis, but you sacrifice the usefulness of that pass-through where you can put stuff. So both of these bikes are pretty much equal in that area. So this bike has ABS. This bike does not have ABS. But the Tigras, you can buy them with ABS. The newer ones come with it. The newer ones also come with a HID headlight. As it is, these headlights are better. You see there's 2, they're bigger, they light up the road better. And so at night, I'm gonna prefer this bike. So this one's just fine, that one's better. As I said, both of these are water cooled. They're liquid cooled. So you've got your radiators behind this. The air goes in here and then it comes out the vent on the side and keeps the bike cool. They both have temperature gauges so you can see if it's getting hot. I've never had either of these hot. I've climbed mountains with them and they seem to work just fine. Instrument clusters. This one, it has more color in it. It has more vibrance. It looks better. This one has more features. It has all these cool features where you can see the elevation that you're at. You can do these timed acceleration runs, 0 to 400 meters, 0 to 100 kilometers an hour, things of that nature. Brakes. The last thing is brakes, I think. This one kills it every single time. This bike has twin discs in the front, and to be honest, your front and your rear brakes on this bike are better than the brakes on this bike. I have no complaints with the PGO brakes, they're fine. But this Kymco is absolutely phenomenal. other thing is reliability. That's hard to speak to, but from my experience, both of these bikes have been very reliable, excellent machines. This bike has almost 40,000 kilometers on it. My friend put most of those kilometers on it, and he maintained it really well, and he had virtually zero issues with it. They have a good reputation. People have lots and lots of kilometers on them, and they run great. They run really well. They do tend to have issues with the instrument cluster, and those are about 3,500, 4,000 NT to fix. There will be a little short in it, and they'll kind of stop working and get iffy, and that's a known problem on these. But to be honest, they might not be up to Yamaha standards, but both of these bikes are good bikes. They're really reliable. You see tons of these Tigras in Taiwan. You can't go a city block in the city without seeing one of these things, and so I do trust both of these bikes when it comes to reliability. They're both fuel injected, and I've been really happy with the fuel delivery, cold starts, everything with these. So I feel like the Taiwanese bikes have really gotten to this level of very high quality, good manufacturing. And so I would recommend either one of these bikes, and it just depends on what you want to do with it. Me personally, for most of the things that I do, I pick the PGO. I like the power, I like the lightness, the zippiness, the way it changes direction, the ease of moving around and parking. But if I need to load up, carry a lot of people, carry a couple of people, go a distance, then I'm gonna pick the Kymco, and I'm happy I have both of them, to be completely honest. So it just kind of depends on you, your body type, and the type of riding that you're gonna do, which of these bikes you would pick.